Citizens speak out. As members of society continue to assert their rights to peace, dignity, and democratic principles, they gather for their voices to be heard in countries such as Bahrain, Côte d'Ivoire, or Ivory Coast, Libya, the Maldives, Mexico, Palestine, Syria, and Yemen.
Mexican poet Javier Sicilia, whose son was among a group of 7 people kidnapped and killed in March, led members of 150 social groups on a 3-day silent march from Cuernavaca to Mexico City, beginning on Thursday, May 5th, to demand an end to the wave of violence gripping the country between drug cartels and military operations of the government.
With Côte d'Ivoire's Constitutional Council officially declaring Alassane Ouattara the winner of the November 2010 presidential elections, the European Union offers €44 million to assist in recovery from the post-election conflict that ensued between supporters of President Ouattara and those of former President Laurent Gbagbo. In the Maldives, protesters rallied for the 7th straight day over rising prices, stating they will not stop until President Mohamed Nasheed resigns. Presidential spokesperson Mohamed Zuhair explained that the economic policies had been recommended by the International Monetary Fund to reduce the large deficit inherited from the previous administration that had led the country for 30 years prior to President Nasheed's democratic election in 2008. He invited the activists to partner with the government in overcoming the current budget problems and to propose an alternative plan, stating, "At this difficult economic time, the country should unite for the common good."
UN Human Rights Chief Navi Pillay called for Bahraini authorities to immediately release detained activists and to give all detainees access to legal counsel. She also called for a probe into reports of their severe torture as she urged Bahraini officials to end the violence against demonstrators and to guarantee them basic civil and political rights.
There are also signs that Bahraini security forces are molesting women as part of the brutal crackdown on protesters. Fatima, a close relative of detained human rights activist Abdelhadi Al-Khawaja, reported to Press TV that she was sexually assaulted in her home when security forces came to arrest her husband.
Meanwhile, former parliament member Jawad Farouz was reported on Thursday to have died during his imprisonment.
Syrian military troops began pulling out of Daraa Thursday after what human rights groups report has been a 10-day massacre of the town, resulting in thousands of arrests, over 500 deaths, and massive destruction of property. The government has now turned its attentions elsewhere, including the Damascus suburb of Zakba, where security forces are going house to house making arrests. Meanwhile, people continue to gather in protest across the country on Friday in rallies marking what they termed a day of defiance. Al Jazeera news agency continues to demand the release of female journalist Dorothy Parvaz, who was detained by Syrian officials upon her arrival on April 29th. Advocacy groups such as the Committee to Protect Journalists and Reporters Without Borders, as well as many other colleagues, have echoed concern for the well-being of Ms. Parvaz, as they call for her immediate release as well.
Foreign ministers from over 20 countries and 4 international organizations concluded the second Libyan contact group meeting in Italy on Thursday, in which they prioritized the coordination of an immediate ceasefire and the launch of a political process to resolve the conflict. Turkish Foreign Minister Ahmet Davutoglu announced his government is currently consulting all parties involved to create an acceptable ceasefire plan. Meanwhile, the World Food Program warns the country could completely run out of food supplies in the next 2 months.
In sorrow for the loss of precious lives, we pray that all conflicts soon end and that people in every nation decide in favor of shared respect and freedom for peace to reign across all lands.